Hi BookTube, it's Gina. Happy New Year, happy 2026. I am so far really having a great new year. What is it? It's only the 7th, so early days, but retirement is great. And I'm just, enjoying reading and settling in to my new routine. And the beginning of the year is time for goals and plans videos. I've been watching everyone's goals videos. I love them. I love watching them. They're so much fun. But if you know me, you know that I'm really not a big setting goals, especially around reading person. Now, when I used to work, I used to joke with my boss that I wanted my yearly goal to be, I want to show up for work and not be cranky. And they never let me put that, but that was my underlying goal for my entire working career. And actually really think it's a good goal. And that is my goal around my reading. I just want to show up and not be cranky. Now, it can be really hard, especially on BookTube, for some people to not feel a certain competitiveness or stress if you are not reading as much as the next person or not reading the quality of what you're seeing people read on BookTube. And I just want to say, it's okay. You don't have to even think about any of that. Read whatever you want. So this is my main message for this video. Read whatever you want, however much you want, and don't compare yourself to anyone else. And it's okay. Now, here's the funny thing. So I know, if goals are helpful for you, or if setting intentions or making plans is fun, then I say, absolutely go for it. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not opposed to it. I don't find it to be that helpful. The funny thing is that last year, 2025, which it's weird to say last year since it was just a week ago, but I had a really rough year. You guys know my dad was sick. We were taking care of him. He passed away, and it was just a hard year. And I was like, oh, having a terrible reading year. I couldn't focus on anything. I thought I was really struggling with my reading. I was doing a ton of comfort reading, a ton of rereads, which I'll talk about in a next video, because I really did have a lot of fun with a lot of really relaxing rereads. But I just thought, oh, I'm having a terrible year as far as my reading goes, because I was just having a terrible year in general. I did not set a Goodreads goal last year. I didn't even set it at 1 because I didn't even want to think about it. I just wanted to read and relax and enjoy what I was reading, which I generally do. But I do like sometimes to just track the number just to see where I am, and it's kind of fun. So I didn't even set a goal or anything. I didn't track my numbers. I did put them in Goodreads because that's where I track, although I am going to start a book log this year. More to come on that. But then at the end of the year, I thought, let's put in a goal. I didn't want to count them all up, but I was curious how many books I had read. And so I put in my Goodreads goal of 1. This was like 2 weeks ago. And went over to look and see how many books I had read last year. And I read 91 books. I read more books last year than I've ever read in my life, which just boggled my mind. I couldn't believe it. Now, a lot of those were really comfort rereads. They're very quick reads, but I don't even want to try and justify or rationalize how I did it or didn't do it, because I just think you really want to not stress out about your reading. And I didn't stress out about my reading last year, and I actually had a great reading year. The other thing is I really try, I'm saying great reading year, bad reading year, but I try really hard to remove judgment words from my vocabulary when I'm talking about my reading, because they're not helpful. And I try not to do that. Now, I think it creeps in, obviously, because that's just how our vocabulary and my brain works. But I try to remove myself from that as much as possible, from rules around reading, from what I am supposed to be reading, from what I see everybody else reading. I just want to pull back from all of that as much as possible and read whatever the bleep I want. That is my message. Read whatever the bleep you want. Now, I do think that I've been seeing all of these videos going around recently because Ryan Holiday just did his rules for reading post. And I like Ryan Holiday. I actually subscribe to his monthly newsletter where he recommends books. I think he is a great advocate for books and reading. And I actually like his list. I think it's interesting. I as an old lady, am not his target audience necessarily, but I think that it is an interesting list. Check it out. I'll link Hannah's books video below because I like Hannah's perspective on, she went through all of the rules and talked about what she thought applied to her, and I really enjoyed her video. So if you're interested in what those rules are, take a look at Hannah's video. And I think for some people, having some inspiration around what to read, how to read, can be really helpful. And I think reading better is not necessarily a bad goal to have. For me right now, it's not what I'm gonna do. So I think that read whatever you want. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. Have fun with your reading. And these are all things I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing in 2026. Buddy read if you like to buddy read, watch YouTube videos and make comments, engage with the people on BookTube that you enjoy, which is what I will be doing. I love watching BookTube videos. I love it when you guys leave comments on my videos. I've just had so much fun with my reading and my interactions with BookTube, with my friends that I've made here. I've made so many great BookTube friends that it's just a really fun way to enhance my reading. So I don't think you need to set goals. If you want to, you can. I don't think that you need to set rules, but I think for some people, that can be a helpful thing. If that's something that helps you, then do it. But this is a really waffly video. It's going to be like, if you like it, do it. If you don't like it, don't do it. But that's really my take message for this, because I think that it's so easy to get wrapped up in the on BookTube, especially in the competitiveness, which I'm not really a competitive person. I am in some areas, but I don't find I need to compare myself to what other people are doing around books. So I just want you to relax and have fun with your books, with BookTube, with your reading this year. Now, there are some things that I am going to be doing this year that I want to talk about, because they're not necessarily goals, but because I did so much comfort reading last year, which is what I really needed to do, my brain just could not wrap itself around anything even remotely taxing. So I did a lot of cozy mysteries, a lot of cozy rereads. And this year, I really want to diversify my reading a little bit. So I do have, I'm not going to do a TBR, but I did to make a little shelf right here of some of the books that I've had flitting around in my brain that I'm gonna try and read in 2026. The first one being, I talked about this because I just bought this book. This is this beautiful edition of Lonesome Dove. And this is a chunkster, but I do want to read this. I've heard such great things about it. When I talked about it in my last video, everybody that commented about it said how much they loved it, what a beautiful book it was. And so I do want to read this. I'm thinking for March of the Mammoths this year, I will read this book. So I do want to branch out a little bit this year in my reading and finish up some books. Like I started, I started The House of Mirth a couple years ago. I started it, I don't know why. I set it down and then I just never picked it back up. So I want to get to this, but my brain would not have been capable last year of reading anything other than The Cat Who Mystery. That's where I was last year. So I am going to try to diversify my reading just a little bit. But you know what, if I don't, that's also okay. I am also planning to read some more physical books off of my shelf. So I tend to read most on my Kindle. I use my library Libby app a ton to get Kindle books. I own a lot of Kindle books and I love to read on my Kindle, especially in bed at night, all cozy under the covers. That is just one of the joys of my life. And now that I'm not working all day, what I want to do in 2026 is try to read from some of my paper books. So when I'm downstairs and it's during the day and I'm just sitting down reading, I would like to read some of my physical books. I'm not setting any intentions around that. I'm not setting any numbers, goals. I'm not doing a read what you own challenge. I just am gonna pull out some of these books that as I've been looking through them, I remembered that I wanted to read them and never did. So that is something. I will probably be doing a few reading events because I love Jane Austen July. I love Victober. I maybe will do Shaketember this year, not sure. But I didn't really even do any reading events last year. I thought I would do a couple, but I couldn't focus. So I didn't, and I missed it. So I'm gonna do a couple reading events this year. And I mentioned briefly earlier, but I do want to start a paper reading log. And I've talked about this on a couple of other videos, I think, but I started it because I've already finished two books this year, and I'll show you this too because I started myself like an office basket, which is my journals, my calendar, because I don't have to sit at my desk all day long anymore, and I haven't sat at it. I'm feeling a little traumatized going back and sitting at that desk that I worked at for the last 15 years. So I brought my computer out. I got a little basket, putting my stuff in there, and I got a paper reading log that I'm going to try to do. Kelly at Books I'm Not Reading has been tracking her reading. I don't know, for how long is it, Kelly? 25 years, I think. Since she was like in college. I don't remember exactly, but every time she pulls out her reading journal, I just squeal because I'm so envious that somebody can look back 20 years and see, maybe not 25 years because Kelly's not that old, but you know what I mean. I'm so envious that somebody can look back and see what they were reading all those years ago. Now I have been tracking my Goodreads since I started BookTube, but who knows what's going to happen with Goodreads. That might go away. I don't want to rely on that. And I really love the idea of having your books written down on paper. So I'm going to try that. I'm keeping it super simple, just the book, the date, the author, maybe kind of my initial star rating, just so I remember what I thought of it, because I don't always remember what I think of books when I look back. And I think that might be helpful. So that's my plan for 2026. What are your plans for 2026? I'd love to hear about them in the comments, and I will see you next time. Bye.